Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Conscious Grief Series 5. And today I am joined by Karen Anderson, who is an expert in animal communication and specializes in pet loss and the afterlife. So, welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Tara, so much. I appreciate being here.
Well, I'm so delighted to have met you and connected with you and to have you on this series because you have an amazing wealth of experience. You're also an esteemed author with 3 best-selling books. You have won awards for your animal communication. And you're also you've got an app that we're going to talk about. So yeah, you're just an amazing lady, Karen. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for all the work that you do. And it's such an interesting work to be an animal communicator. And some people might be watching this and have never even knew such a thing exists. So how did you become your amazing self and an animal communicator?
Well, I have to tell you, when I heard the term animal communicator for the first time, I was in my late 30s and I had never heard that before. I had no idea what it was. But the interesting part was, as I discovered, I was intrigued. I thought, ooh, I love animals. So, ooh, what is that? And the more I looked into it, the more I realized I had been doing this as a child. I just didn't call it that. That term wasn't even around back in the 60s. And I had this incredible remembering, if you will, that I was communicating with my childhood pets. So that's where it started, as far back as I can remember. But I truly thought everyone could. I didn't know that it was something different or unique.
Mm-hmm. And what's also really interesting about your story is you became a sheriff, you were in law enforcement, and it was during that time that you were figuring cases out because of the animals, right? Maybe tell us in your own words.
It is an incredible story. And when it was happening, I didn't understand it. It was making me question my sanity. But I was a brand new deputy sheriff in a little town called Bailey, Colorado, up in the Rocky Mountains. And I had been practicing animal communication on the side just because I had a lot of animals and I wanted to understand them on a deeper level. And I was actually working as a deputy when I started to receive messages from animals on crime scenes. And they were incredibly accurate and detailed and far more uh, informative than what the humans were telling me on those crime scenes. So I was just fascinated by that. It just blew me away. How could this be happening? Is this even real? Did that really happen? And I had all of those thoughts, just like, you're hearing this for the first time going, oh my gosh, is that even possible? I was thinking the same thing too, but it was, and it happened, and it was amazing. And once I started to receive messages, I was just so hooked. I wanted to learn everything I could. So I just dove in and started practicing.
Wow. What's coming to me as you speak is there a specific story that you could share with us about what an animal told you about a crime case?
Absolutely. So the one that stands out to me the most is because it wasn't a companion animal, it was actually a deer. And I had been on the scene of a rollover uh, accident where the suspect had fled on foot and was known to have a warrant for their arrest and that they could possibly be armed and dangerous. So it was in the middle of the night. It was summertime, and I'm out in this big field up in the mountains. So it's pitch black. There's no street lights in the mountains. And my sergeant told me to stay on perimeter, which basically means I won't ruin anything if I stay on perimeter. So it's like, you stay here, we're going to go look for the suspect. So I stayed near the vehicle and I was by myself in my patrol car, and I was brand new out of the academy, didn't really know what I was doing at all. And it's not like what you see on TV where there's, all these cop cars pull up. There were maybe 4 officers at this particular scene, but they all went down the road to my left. They thought the suspect went that way. So I stayed on the scene. And as I'm sitting there in the darkness, I thought, wow, this is really exciting, but really scary all at the same time. And I had all these thoughts running through my mind. And as I was sitting there in the silence, I noticed that a herd of deer started to come across the field where I had parked my patrol car. And they could see me and they weren't alarmed. They just walked through and they were pretty close because they knew I wasn't a threat. And as I was having these thoughts in my head, where is he hiding? Where is this guy? This one deer popped its head up. It had been eating the grass, popped its head up, looked right at me. And in my head, I heard the words, logs, by the logs. And I looked to my right, and there was a bunch of fallen trees in this big open field that were about, I don't know, maybe 40 yards away from me at the time. And the deer kept on going, they just kind of moved away, but I noticed that they kept turning and looking to the right. So if all the police activity was to my left, why are the deer looking to the right? So I thought, oh my gosh, what if he's over there? What if he's hiding behind those logs? So I snuck around in the darkness, drew my weapon, and in this booming voice that I don't even know where it came from, I shouted, "Sheriff's office, put your hands up." And sure enough, these 2 little hands popped up from behind the logs. I mean, it was one of those, my heart was pounding in my chest. I couldn't believe what was happening. And there he was. So mind blowing that could happen. And no, it wasn't my thought because I wasn't thinking logs. I was thinking, what the heck am I going to do if I find this guy? I had no idea. I was so brand new on the department. So that was really a pivotal moment. And from there, the snowball just like kept rolling and the messages kept coming in. And I was so fascinated by that.
Well, that is fascinating, isn't it? It's absolutely incredible. And how they assisted you in your work. And then I guess from there, you decided that you wanted to make the transition from being a sheriff to doing more work with the animals.
I really didn't, Tara. I had no clue what I was doing. So I didn't know. I didn't have a plan. But what I did have was a passion. And what I had not done up until that point in my life, like I said, I was in my late 30s, is I had never listened to my heart. I had always done the job that I knew was secure. I had been in the mortgage industry for 20 years prior to becoming a police officer, but my heart wasn't in that. I didn't enjoy it. In fact, it was terrible. And I knew I loved animals and I knew that I wanted to work with them, but I didn't know what that was and what capacity. So I just stayed with my passion. And for anyone listening, you have those little thoughts in your head for a reason. That's your soul, your higher self, your angels, your guides, all of your loved ones in the afterlife telling you, hey, you're supposed to be on this path. What are you doing over there on that path? And if your life is miserable because of your job or a relationship or something else that you've been doing, it's because you're not on the right path. And the universe tends to make you realize this is not working for me. So they keep sending you these reminders of, hey, you need to follow your heart. So that's what I did. I just followed my heart. I kept practicing. And lo and behold, I felt pulled to animal communication. I had no clue where it was going. So I just listened to that. And I eventually left law enforcement to pursue animal communication full time without a plan, just listening to my heart and my passion.
Well, I'm loving what you're sharing about that and those messages for us, because that's a very, it's not grief related per se, but it's very wise to listen to that voice within and just to follow our hearts, because so often we are, doing what we think is the right thing to do, the safe thing to do. And it takes a lot of courage, to follow our hearts. So thank you for sharing that.
It took a lot of courage. And, everybody told me I was crazy. They thought it was, a bad decision, especially those that were close to me. And that was the other thing that I want to share with you, is that our loved ones, the ones that are in our closest circle, are often the ones that are the most critical when we're about to make a change, especially if it's something that's not considered, mainstream, like animal communication. They were not supportive. And it's not saying anything bad against them. They were truly afraid that I was going to fail. And, our loved ones don't want us to fail. They want us to succeed, or, hopefully they want us to succeed. But if I had listened to them, I wouldn't be here right now. So you really have to trust that voice. And that's what I write about. That's what my books have, an underlying themes. You really have to listen. What is your heart telling you? What's in here? What's up here? You got to pay attention to that, because it's rarely ever wrong. Every time I've gone against it, I've been wrong. So I listen now to that little voice.
And you were saying also that little voice within can also be our angels and our guides,
Yes.
and our loved ones who've crossed over, who are helping and guiding us. And
Yes.
our pets are spiritual souls having an animal experience. So in your experience, what do you think happens when animals cross over to the other side?
Well, they are one of our biggest fans, and they never truly leave us as we might expect. The physicality of their body, of course, does, but their soul, their energy still stays connected to us, no matter how many years it has been. Your childhood pets, anybody that you loved or cared about, their spirit is always connected to you. Once you realize that, once you accept that and trust, even if you can't see it or feel it or hear, then a whole new world can open up for you. And it's not that big of a leap, because if you think about it, we all walk around with our cell phones. We text and we make phone calls and we do all kinds of stuff on our cell phones all the time. But how does that message get from point A to point B? Invisibly, right? It just magically happens. You send a message and the recipient gets it. Well, that's what animal communication is. It's an energetic message going from you to them, or from them to you. So it really, truly is no different than what we're doing with our cell phones or anything else that we do electronically and sending messages like that. So once I was able to grasp that and realize, this is really fascinating, I got so pulled into, especially the afterlife, because, Tara, the one thing that stood out for me, and I've done thousands of sessions over the past 26 years now, but in the afterlife sessions, when the animals would share their experience, like when they left their body, it was completely different than what I thought or what my clients thought. It was shockingly beautiful and an incredibly exhilarating experience for them. They didn't take anything with them as far as pain or discomfort or any of those final moments, the things that keep us up at night. It wasn't even a part of their memory. In fact, when I would ask the animal for the client about a particular situation where things didn't go very well at the end of their life, it was as if they couldn't even relay anything about that incident, because that was not part of their experience. Now, this was mind-boggling to me, because as a pet parent myself, I have agonized over their final moments and obsessed over those final moments, to the point where I would make myself sick. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I doubted my ability to be a good pet parent. And, just really felt a lot of guilt and anger and resentment at myself for, not being able to save them or not being able to change the outcome or whatever it was. And yet the animals would relay to me nothing of that, or very little, let's say, and then they would want to change the subject, like go on to something fun they did, or something they did to make you laugh, or maybe what you ate for breakfast that morning. It was almost as if, hey, that moment when I left my body does not define who I am. Please don't focus on that. What about all the time we shared? What about all those happy memories? What about all of the fun times? That's what they want to talk about. And I think that's really fascinating.
It is.
You know, we expect them to be mournful or even grieving in the afterlife, right? We expect them to be sad because, oh my gosh, we're not together anymore. But it's not like that for them. Animals who leave their body don't grieve. There's nothing to grieve about when you're in the afterlife because everything is so perfect in the afterlife. They see us grieving, and this is the other thing that fascinated me. If we carry on with our grief in a destructive way, like I was talking about earlier, where we're blaming ourselves and we're obsessing and we're losing sleep and we can't eat and we're beating ourselves up, they get very confused because they start to think, wow, every time my mom or dad, I call you moms and dads, every time my mom or dad thinks about me, they start crying and they get very sad and upset. I make them sad and upset. And they can't reason like we would as humans. They can't reason in the same way. So they begin to get confused. And why? I've had them ask me in a session, why is mom so sad? Why is dad not going out and doing the things he loves to do anymore? They don't always connect the dots and they don't always understand, especially when we are very self-destructive. They want us, and this is the beautiful part, and this is why I'm so different now, just because I've been a part of so many sessions and seen these transformations. They want us to grieve and to feel that absolutely they want us to grieve because our grief represents our love for them. I mean, that's a tangible thing. Grief is a tangible thing that we hold on to. That's our feelings of love and loss and all of those things. So they don't want us to avoid that, but they want us to approach it in a healthy way and ultimately lead ourselves back onto a path of healing. Whatever that is for you, we're never the same because we can't be, because they're no longer in physical form. So we can't go back to the way things were, but we can be healthy on our journey and find comfort and peace in their memory, in what they taught us, showed us, experienced with us, and rejoicing in the fact that we had this amazing time with them. So it really transformed me, and I am not the same kind of pet parent that I used to be, just in hearing those heartfelt messages from the animals going, go play, go out and have fun. You know, they want us to live our lives fully. Think about it this way. Would you rather hang around someone you loved when they are sad and depressed and they don't want to do anything and their energy is low? Or would you rather hang around with them when they're happy and upbeat and their energy is like booming and, you know, their heart is wide open and they're fun? If those were your two choices, I know what your choice would be. You're going to want to hang out with that person when they're feeling better, especially, you know, if they are fun, because your pets in the afterlife, they are able to fuel their journey off of your energy. So when you're sad and depressed and grieving, you don't have a lot of energy to share. But when you're happy and joyful and bubbly and fun and doing what you love to do, there's a lot of energy there. They benefit from it. So your grief won't ever harm them. So don't think that. We can never harm them with what we're going through. They may not understand it. They may get confused by it, but it's not going to stop them on their journey or, knock them off track from whatever they need to do spiritually. No, but they want us to live our life to the fullest extent because they're still with us. And that's the big message. I'm still here. And they'll nudge us. They'll jump on the bed, or they'll move something, or you might hear them, or little toenails clicking across the floor. They do these little things. They send these afterlife signs to let us know, hey, I know I'm gone physically, but my love and my energy is still right here. The more we can open our perspective to just the chance that is really how it works, more signs and more little visitations will start to appear, because now you're not closed off. We have this self-preservation thing that we do, right? When we're grieving, is we want to block the world out, and I want to go and hide and don't talk to me and leave me alone. And I'm this private griever. I go way down the rabbit hole. And then when we start to move forward into healing, it's like our heart opens up a little bit more and a little bit more. And when that happens, you will start to receive more signs all over the place. I promise you they're there. But when you're deep in grief, it's like having a wet blanket over your head. You can't see them. You can't feel them. You can't sense them. I can't. So I get it. But our animals experience, our beloved pets do not experience those horrible things that you obsess about and lose sleep about. It's sometimes they look at me like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what that is. They were already out of their body. They were already exhilarated in spirit form, even though their physical body may have not transpired yet, because, the soul can leave a little before the physical body stops doing what it's doing. So, it is fascinating. And I think there's scientific studies on it out there too, but I don't need scientific studies. I have actual proof from the animals. And those are the stories that are in my books. It's unbelievable what they have told me and shared.
It's absolutely fascinating. And what you were sharing with me, I've heard from mediums, who talk to people on the other side about, if you're really in a lot of pain and suffering, it's much harder for the medium to connect with the person that they're missing. It's like our vibration needs to be in a certain place, for the reading to be open. And
you know what it's like? It's like when you're driving down the road and your cell phone goes through a dead zone and you can't make any calls. It's similar to that. The messages can't get in, the messages can't get out. So just, I relate it to things that make sense to people, but that's what it's like. It's very much an antenna and a receiver kind of situation. If you're not ready to receive due to your grief and the pain that you're experiencing, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that that's wrong or that you should try to avoid that. In fact, the animals want us to experience our grief in a healthy way, in the best way that we can, in honoring them. But they don't want us obsessing over the past. They don't live in the past. Animals are in the moment, even in the afterlife. They will share with me, this is so cool. They will share with me things that you are doing right now. They even know what you're going to be doing in the future, because they can see past, present, future all at once. The afterlife, there's no linear time. There's no calendars, clocks, there's no watches. So they can see, feel, sense, if you will, because there's no physical eyes, but they have access to those events before they've even happened. And there's just a whole different world that I am completely and 100% fascinated by.
And I agree with you about how it's interesting that with, for example, the internet or our phones, like, we have no idea how these things work, but they work. And just because we don't see something, it doesn't mean to say it's not happening. And reminding us that just because we can't see the animals, you know, who are in spiritual spirit or humans, they are here with us. And, you know, there are people like yourself who have the gift to connect with them and speak with them. And I just personally know from my own experience that having readings with my parents has been extremely transformative in my grief, you know, and everything you're sharing shows so much, like, you know, hope and healing, that we know our loved ones, our pets haven't, you know, they're not in the pain and the suffering. It's you know, it's mostly us that are experiencing that. And the wonderful thing, if you have this understanding, is that you can remain in connection with them, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's the most important thing to them, because think about it. How would you feel if you were in the afterlife and the ones that you loved the most stopped trying to connect with you or think about you, or, you know, remember a favorite memory about you? It'd be so heartbreaking. It's like, well, I'm here. Why are you not talking about me? Why are you not saying my name? Why are you not celebrating my birthday or a holiday with me? It's when we think about them, our loved ones, human and animals, and they're in the afterlife, it's like their birthday. It's like they get a gift. It's like the best thing, because they get this boost of energy, and that's what fuels them in the afterlife. The afterlife is all about spiritual fuel, and we are their main source of energy. That's why they hang around us, because they love our energy. They love being with us. So I won't say that they're with us, you know, 24/7 every single day, but we are home base. And they go off and they have these grand adventures and do whatever they want to do. And some of it is something like you may have heard the Rainbow Bridge thing, you know, meadows and fields and mountains and all of that wonderful stuff. Or some of them might be doing their favorite thing, playing in the yard or out in the corral if you have horses or livestock or whatever it is. Or if it's a bird, they're flying around free. But they always come back to us, and they can be in multiple places at one time. They are not logistically limited like we are by our physical bodies. So I even have people ask me, well, will they be with me or my ex? Who will they be with? Both. They can be with both of you. You know, there's no limitations like that. But truly, it is to me, it's so fascinating, because the animals come through and they want to talk about such wonderful, positive, happy, joyful things. They want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about you. They want to talk about your life together. And the humans, if they're in that place or they've just lost that pet and they're devastated, they only want to talk about the pet's passing, the transition, the day they died or the days leading up to their death. And those are so totally opposite of what the animals want to talk about. So it really showed me, wow, if I just shift my perspective, it's kind of like, this sounds really harsh, but it's kind of like wasted energy. So what I mean by that is you could be taking all of that pain, grief, sorrow, guilt, blame, whatever that is, and you can roll it all into one. And you can say, there it is. All my pain is right there in front of me, but I'm going to use this towards something more positive, and I'm going to turn this into love, and I'm going to send love to my pet. And the easiest way to send love to your pet is to just think you're texting them that love. Just imagine it's going from your heart to theirs, and they'll receive it. So take all that energy that you have been pouring into, you know, sleepless nights and agonizing over things, and transform it into love. Of course, when you're ready. Everyone has their own pace. I will sometimes grieve for months. Sometimes, for whatever the reason is, it doesn't hit me as hard. Now that I'm getting older, it's harder for me. And I don't know if that's because I start to think about my own mortality. I don't know. but we all have an expiration date, right? So you start to think about it more when you hit certain milestones in your life. So now I handle it poorly. I'm looking for the right word. I don't do well. But I've learned how to process that pain better. So even though I'm handling it poorly, I'm processing those steps easier, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. It's like, someone as yourself who can connect with the other side, but ultimately we're still in our human experience. And that means we have a lot of feelings and emotions, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we negate the difficult feelings. Like, being human is about having all the feelings, not just the positive ones. So
right, which is perfect lead in, which is what I wanted to mention. And I totally forgot until you just said it right now. But that those feelings, we're supposed to feel that pain, that depth of loss. What we are here for in our spiritual experience in this physical body is to experience things. Our pets, our companions, our beloved companions are with us. So we experience more things, more types of situations, more love, more worry, right? Because we worry about them. We go through the spectrum of experiences with our pets. They enrich our lives and they present to us more opportunities for experiences. I don't call them lessons because it sounds like then we've done something wrong. We haven't done anything wrong, but the more we experience as this physical being that we are in this lifetime, the more evolved our soul becomes with the help of our little sidekicks, our animal companions, because that's why they're with us. So even though no one wants to talk about it, like when you get a new puppy or kitten or a new horse or bird or whatever your passion is, you don't want to think about that final day. Nobody does. But the more that you can prepare yourself for that moment and help them transition with dignity, the same way they came into this world with love and dignity, help them transition with love and dignity in a calm way, you can help your animal through that much easier. And you are experiencing so much more in your life together, which is the whole reason we're here. So loss is just part of that. Grief and the symptoms of grief are part of that experience that none of us escape. And I've talked to thousands upon thousands of pet parents from all different countries who speak all different languages, and the love is universal, how we feel about our pets. So, we all have that sense and that feeling of, this is some people say it's their heart pet, their soul pet, their soulmate, or whatever it is. And we may love them all. I've had many, but sometimes there's just that one, or if you're lucky enough to, there's that one that just holds the key to your heart and soul, the one that you just bond with more than any other one, or the one that you are just so completely devastated by their loss. And that is all perfectly normal. And you are experiencing there the effects of your past life connections. So the more you have experienced a past life with your pet, the more powerful you will feel the grief when that final day comes. So I know I rolled a few different things into that, but it is so important to realize that when you have, I call it, it's not playing favorites. Like, why do I love this one more than the other? It's not necessarily that. It's just you've experienced more. So it's only natural that somebody you've experienced more things with, you have a closer bond with. So that's a whole other fascinating topic. But oh my gosh, there's just so many things I could share here with you today. I'll keep you here for hours.
Well, I'm loving everything that you're sharing. And it's such a good reminder that these little creatures. You know, they are here to help us learn and evolve, and that's throughout their life and through their death, essentially. So they're powerful. Our relationships with our pets are meaningful and very powerful. Yeah.
And they never end. That connection never ends. The more you talk to them, the more you think about them. Oh, which reminds me, and I write about this in my newest book. When you think about them, or let's say you're driving down the road and they've made their transition, and all of a sudden you get this download of emotions, tears, and your heart feels like it's breaking into a million pieces. You may think that that's just you experiencing grief. What the animals tell me is that that's them coming close to you, and your soul recognizes their soul. And so it breaks that bubble wide open of all those emotions again. So you get that incredible, uncontrollable download of emotions and feelings, the sobs that you can't stop, the tears that you can't stop, the thoughts that pop into your head randomly. You may think that's you doing that. That's a visitation. That's your beloved companion going, hey, I'm right here. And the part of you that you cannot see, your soul goes, oh, there you are. And all of those emotions start to rise to the surface again. And you're just driving down the road, or maybe sitting at your desk or wherever you are, and you think it's you doing that, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. And you mentioned your book. Would you mind showing us your books, actually?
Oh, I would love to. The first one is Hear All Creatures. And this really shares the story of how I had to learn their language, because they do have a bit of a language, and we all receive their messages a little bit differently. Sometimes we see images, sometimes we hear words, sometimes we'll feel feelings. So everyone has a process where they learn. It's like going to a foreign language. Let's say I went to France, and I don't speak French. So I'd get off the plane going, well, I don't know how to say hello or goodbye or please or thank you. But the longer you spend time in France, the more accustomed you are to the language, and you start to pick up little words. So it's the same way with animal communication. They don't necessarily speak English, but you'll receive their messages in a form that you understand, which is whatever your base language is. It's fascinating, I think. So my next book is The Amazing Afterlife of Animals. This is currently a #1 bestseller in pet loss on Amazon. And this is full of those afterlife sessions that I had with those amazing messages that just were transformative, like unbelievable, powerful messages. And those 2 books are written for someone who's deeply, deeply grieving. They're short stories. They're very uplifting, very positive, very powerful. And it is something that even a person who's grieving, you can't even breathe when you're in the depths of pain, let alone read a book and retain anything. But I purposely wrote them for someone who has trouble focusing or is having a really hard time. And my newest book is The Pet I Can't Forget. And this is finding hope and healing with signs from the afterlife. So this is all about afterlife signs. This book is full of incredible true stories of how pets send signs from the afterlife, what types of signs they send, where to look for them, how to tell if it's a sign or your imagination, and how to ask for more, how to receive more. And the very last part of the book are quite a few afterlife sessions that I conducted with some of my most amazing and incredible messages in there. So it is truly a powerfully positive book. You can't talk about a pet passing without being sad. So of course there's going to be sadness, but the overall feeling of the book is very incredibly inspiring and uplifting, and full of amazing stories to help you find your path, because we're all different. So what works for me isn't going to work for you, but there's enough stories in here that I'm hoping you will find something and go, oh my gosh, that happened to me. And that will help you take one more step on your journey into healing.
Well, your message is just one of such amazing hope and transformation and evolution and growth, everything that you share, Karen. But I, call my work conscious grief, but I'm always interested to hear everybody's own interpretation of conscious grief.
Okay, well, I am right off the top of my head when I hear the words conscious grief. I think that that is being aware not only of the emotions that you're feeling, that you're going through, but I think it is also being aware of the love that it represents. That you're feeling that pain because you loved very deeply. And that is a beautiful thing. Some people never get to experience that kind of bond with anybody. And if you are fortunate enough to have that kind of connection with a living, breathing companion, how lucky are you? And to be consciously aware that love never ends. They never leave us. They are always with us and connected to us because there's nowhere else in the world they would rather be than with you. And those bonds of love never die. So I think that's what conscious grief is for me.
Well, I absolutely love that, Karen. Thank you. I know that you personally don't do individual sessions anymore, but I just thought it would be good for you to clarify that you have many people that you can refer clients to.
Correct. So I retired a few years ago to focus on writing my books and also coaching because I want to pass the torch along and share what's up here with others because it's not hard to do. It is a simple process. The steps are so simple. If you saw the steps, you'd think, "Oh, how could that be? Isn't there some, crazy skill you have to have?" No, you really don't. So I have partnered with several hand-selected practitioners who conduct sessions, afterlife sessions or living pet sessions, with missing pet sessions. I mean, we have a little bit of everything. And the really amazing part of it is that these practitioners partner with me, and a portion of the proceeds from every session is donated to my nonprofit animal sanctuary called the Painted Rain Ranch. And how fantastic is that? Plus, if you are interested in learning my coaching programs, I have an online course for beginners, and I do private one-on-one coaching as well. The proceeds from coaching also go right to the nonprofit. And just to share what the nonprofit is about, it is a 30-acre, right here, beautiful ranch where I live in Eastern Washington. And what I do is I save the pets that no one else wants. I rescue the ones that are overlooked at shelters because they're elderly, or maybe they have special needs. Maybe they've been abandoned. Maybe they have a behavioral issue. I seek out the ones that no one else wants, and I bring them here to my ranch, and they stay here forever. We don't adopt out. They stay here as part of our family, and they're loved till the moment they take their last breath and beyond. And I'm so proud to be able to share that. And not only do the proceeds from coaching and sessions go to the nonprofit, but the proceeds from my books go to the nonprofit. And you can hop on and see all the residents that we have on our website and the fuzzy little cute little faces that all live here that I take care of. And it's a beautiful thing and a childhood dream come true, and I'm so proud of it. So yes, we need donations all the time. We have an Amazon wish list, a Chewy wish list. We're on Walmart's charity. And because of the high cost of everything, you can imagine we need those donations also coming in year round, because most of our residents have some kind of health issue. And the vet bills are very high.
Wow, that's so inspiring, Karen. It's incredible. And I know that you have a gift for our listeners today. So do tell us about that.
I have what I call the Animal Communication Starter Kit. So if anything I have said today is like pinging on you, going, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, I want more of that," I've created a starter kit. It has basically everything you need to start your animal communication journey. There is a free animal communication handbook, which includes 5 digital lessons. There is also a checklist in there to help you get started when you start practicing with your animal communication sessions. And also my free app, which is called Pet Loss, Hope, and Healing. And in that app, there is free training once you opt in as a member, which is free to opt in as a member. There's also my free Facebook group for animal communication, all levels. It's called Animal Communication Planet. And the members practice with other members' pets. So you post your pet, for instance, and then the other members practice and tell you what they got from your pet. It's really a beautiful group of very talented members. So it's wonderful. And plus, you get to connect with me. And I am very generous in supporting those who are interested in animal communication. I want to see you succeed, and I want to share everything I've learned with you, because my goal is to pay it forward. So I hope that you will take advantage of all those free resources that I'm offering, plus ongoing support for pet loss and afterlife insights too. Lots of afterlife insights.
Wow. So generous, Karen. What an absolute gift it has been to meet you, to have you on this series, the gift that you are to so many animals and people's lives. So thank you very, very much for what you
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me go on and on and on about this. It's just a beautiful thing, and I'm always so thrilled to share. And I just hope that just one person gets something out of what I shared today, and maybe their path is a little bit easier because they will take a healthier approach on their journey into healing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your knowledge. And to the listeners and people watching, thank you for being with us, and see you next time. Bye.